Well, it's the top of the hour, and we want to honor you being here and being here on time. So we're going to get started and jump into today's training. I'm John Terry, and I'll take just a moment and introduce myself a little bit later, but I want to say thank you for joining me. And I want to welcome you to this very special presentation, Branding for 21st Century Success. For the next several minutes, I'm going to be talking about the power of branding and how you can put this power to work for you in your business in a productive way. So I want to thank you for taking time to invest in yourself. And I'm glad you're here. So we're going to jump right in and we're going to get started. Now, when it comes to building a brand, it's important to understand what branding is and what branding isn't. By definition, and I want to start with a definition to really set the framework for where we're going. Branding is the promotion of a product, a service, an organization, or an individual by means of two things: advertising or distinctive design. Now, pick that up early, because as you're thinking into your brand, it's the promotion of a product, a service, an organization, or an individual by what you are putting out in terms of your marketing, your advertising, but also the uniqueness of your distinctive design. At the end of the day, branding is really one thing. It's about how you want to be seen and known by the people that you're trying to attract, the people that you're trying to entice to do business with you in some way or to engage with you in further conversation. Now, another definition of branding that you want to consider, and you'll see this in the presentation as well, a brand is also a name, a term, a design, a symbol, or any other feature that identifies you, your products, or your services and allows you to be distinct, unique, and different from other people who offer something very similar. Now, let me give you an example of this last definition in terms of branding as a design or a symbol or something that identifies you uniquely. Now, in case you don't know who I am, let me take a moment to quickly introduce myself. What do? I'm John Terry. I'm known as the Black Belt Leader. I'm a two-time Martial Arts Hall of Fame inductee who helps create Black Belt leaders in life. I teach individuals and train organizations to become masters at their craft or their profession. Now, my brand is Black Belt Leadership, and it's about one thing. It's about inspiring and empowering you to lead yourself well, make good choices by learning how to master your life. The uniqueness of a brand can't be overstated, and learning to recognize the uniqueness of a brand, and you're going to see this as we go through the day's training, is powerful. And as you build your unique brand and begin to put it in the marketplace, this is how you get recognized. This is how you get seen. And this is how you attract the right customers to your business. Now, when we think about branding, branding is really go time for your business. It's taking your messaging that you've created, that you've designed, and it's the opportunity to put it out there and let the world know who you are, what you do, and the benefits of engaging with you as a business professional. Now, remember, branding is how you are seen and known. Remember that. Your branding does two jobs. It's how you want to be seen in the marketplace and the image, the vision, and the passion for what you want to be known for. Really, branding is your reputation, and it's the image that you want to portray to the world that you're trying to attract to learn more about who you are, what you do, and how you uniquely do it. One of my friends is Jeff Henderson, and in Jeff Henderson's book, What Are You Known For?, he specifically asked the question, what do you want to be known for as you think into branding? It's a powerful book, and if you haven't read it, I encourage you to do so. Now, here's the good news when it comes to branding. You get to craft your own message, and you get to create the image that you want to put out in the marketplace. So you get to do that up front before it's ever seen by the public, because you want to make sure your message and the image or images you're putting out in the marketplace properly represent you in the marketplace of all the varying ideas. Whether you're a martial arts school owner, you're a financial professional, you're an architect or an engineer, your branding is part of how you are seen as unique and different. Now, when you look at the images here, all of these come to mind as unique brands. Think about this: Mickey Mouse, Colonel Sanders, Tony the Tiger, Ronald McDonald, the Pillsbury Doughboy, the Michelin Man, Mr. Clean, the Energizer Bunny, the Jolly Green Giant, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Power Rangers, the Justice League, and the Chick-Fil-A cows. As I shared those names, images begin to pop into your mind as you knew exactly who I was talking about by the image that was portrayed and how these national brands have branded themselves in the marketplace. Every one of those names I called off have a brand symbol and images built around it that shape public perception and influence choices when it comes to buying. Now, remember this: the more memorable your brand, the more you're going to stand out as unique, different, and relatable to the audience that you want to attract and that you want to serve. But it starts first off by determining who you want to speak to. Who is the target audience that you're trying to attract for your business? This is really step one of creating a successful brand in the 21st century. And that's identifying specifically who you want to attract or influence or serve. So my initial question to you is this: who is your target audience? Who is it that you want to attract to walk in the doors of your business, or to invite you to come into their home or meet them at a coffee shop to have a conversation about who you are, what you do, and the problems that you can help those individuals solve? That is really at the heart of branding. Now, once you solidify a picture of your customer, you're then going to be better able to create a brand and an identity around it that allows those customers you want to attract to understand who you are and relate to what you bring to the table. So let me give you a few questions that you may want to jot down as you're thinking into target marketing. Question number one: who are you trying to reach? Out of all the different audiences that you could serve, who is served best? Number two: who benefits from what you offer, your product or your service? Number three: what do you know about the individuals that you want to attract? What is something that is common in that small demographic group of individuals? What types of technology do they use? Now, why would you ask that question? Because if you know what type of technology they use, you now know what type of media they're consuming, whether they're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn, or they're not using social media at all, and they're going to be one of those traditional marketing opportunities that you're going to have to look at to reach in a unique and different way. But as you're thinking about your target audience and beginning to understand who they are and how they live life, you can now begin to think about the type of message that you want to put into the marketplace that gets their attention and that's going to resonate with them. The goal is this, is to put yourself in the mind of your target audience so you can begin to think like they think. And now you can create a brand around what they're thinking, the questions they're asking, the problems they want solved, or the outcome they desire for themselves, so they have an opportunity to see that you can deliver that outcome to them. Now, if you want more in-depth training on how to define your target market, after we finish today's training, please go to my website, beablackbeltleader.com. Click on the training tab, and you can have access to this on-demand webinar that will teach you much more in depth how to identify and attract your ideal customer, what we often refer to in marketing as an avatar. But when it comes to putting together your branding, it's important to be very, very specific. Remember this: the riches are always found in the niches. I find it interesting when I'm working with an organization and I ask them, tell me about your target audience. And their immediate response to me, well, John, everybody is a candidate for what I bring to the table. I was in a martial arts school recently and was having a conversation with the school owner about their branding and the fact that they wanted to grow their business. And when I said, who is your target market and who benefits? This was the answer I got: everyone. But as I looked around their studio and looked at what they were doing, that room was full of elementary school and middle school students, a massive class of young children that were being trained not only in the martial arts, but to be trained to be leaders in life. And out of all the people that studio was serving, that unique niche was unique to them. I was visiting with a lady the other day in California that runs a hair salon, and we were having a branding conversation and talking about all the audiences that they serve. Again, her answer was everyone. But when I came back to the question that while a lot of people may benefit from what you offer, the most important question was who benefits most. She was able to really define that it was single moms with kids at school that needed an opportunity just to get away for an hour to make themselves feel and look beautiful. That became her message to the market. Now, remember, it always goes back to this question: what do you want to be known for? When you're branding, when you're putting that brand out in your advertising and marketing, you want to know what you're known for. I recently worked with a financial professional whose market niche was very unique. He said, John, I work with small business owners who are trying to transition out of their business and into retirement, a very unique niche. I already shared with you about the martial arts school owner that we spoke with. In whatever industry you're in, you can find a unique niche. But here's the thing. Many people say, John, I don't want to narrow my niche down because my audience gets too small. Well, here's what happens when you do that. Simply because you're focusing on one niche doesn't mean you're not going to attract other niches and other individuals by default. Because if you're serving one niche and serving it well, you're speaking to that as your specialty. But here's what happens. Not only will that niche seek you out, but other individuals who want the same results that you are getting for your very specific niche are also going to seek you out so that they can benefit from what you're doing. The martial arts school owner that I shared with you that was focusing on elementary and middle school students also had junior high, high school students, and adult students that wanted the same outcome that they saw in their siblings, in their children. And as a result of the kids being in the program, many of the older kids, the brothers and sisters, the older ones, decided they wanted to get in the program as well. And then the next thing you know, here came the parents, and it became a family involvement. So being specific in your niche allows you to stand out because not every business serves the same unique niche. And when you can be seen as unique and different, it gives you an opportunity to stand out. Now, if you don't have a mission statement, when it comes to branding, you need a mission statement to really define what you want to be known for that you can share with others. So what is a mission statement? It is a clear, concise, overarching definition of your desired outcome, what you want to offer to the clients and customers that you want to serve. Being able to create a mission statement that is clear, concise, and succinct, that gives an overarching definition of your desired outcome, allows those on your team and the audience you're going to be speaking to know exactly what your business does. Now, even if you're not a big company, maybe you're a solopreneur that's running business by yourself, having a clear mission statement is going to be key to building an effective brand that is successful in the 21st century. Now, let me tell you this when it comes to a mission statement. A mission statement is something that should sum up what your brand is in one or two sentences. Something that succinctly explains why you do what you do. Now, a mission statement is different than a tagline. Think Nike for a minute. And when you think Nike, what do you immediately think? Just do it. Because you see that tagline used in Nike's marketing. That has become a part of their brand, but it's a tagline, not a mission statement. For those of you that don't know Nike's mission statement, it's this: to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. So they use that mission statement to create the brand, out of which came the tagline, just do it, that literally made Nike a household name. So question number one for you is, do you have a mission statement? If you don't, you need one. But if you do have a mission statement, maybe you need to go back and revisit that to see what exactly it says about you, and does it speak to the desired outcome that your target audience actually wants to achieve. If they want to get physically fit, your statement needs to speak to that. If you're a beautician and your audience wants to look beautiful, they need to speak to that. If you're an architect or an engineer and you create these incredible blueprints that build this massive facility that serves a warehouse or an industry very well, it needs to say that. But you want to make sure in your mission statement that you keep it clear, but keep it brief. It's a concise statement. It's not a paragraph. It's not a book. It doesn't need fancy words. It doesn't need colorful language. It needs to be short, simple, and easy to remember. And it needs to be visible when individuals walk into your business if you have a retail location, so that it speaks to what specifically your desired outcome is and what you want to be known for. Remember, a mission statement is your opportunity to do one thing, and that's to cast vision for your company and let the public know what you stand for. Now, remember, just like Nike serves athletes. They don't serve the entire demographic of the world. They specifically serve athletes. So your mission statement doesn't have to be all inclusive. It simply needs to say this: this is me, and this is what I do. Or if it comes to your organization, this is us, me and my team, and this is what we do. It's really an opportunity to share your why with the world. Now, remember, you're in competition with other people who do something very similar or exactly what you do. And many people offer the exact same things or very similar things to what you're offering. Now, when I was a martial arts school owner, I had 3 schools in 3 different cities, and there were other martial arts schools in the town. While my competition was friendly, the other martial arts school owners during that season in my life, they were my competitors. And as a result of that, every one of us were competing for the same or similar clients and customers. In every business I work in, every business I do training and coaching in, understand you're not unique and you're not the only one that does what you do, with very few exceptions. So you need to understand what your competition is doing. You need to take some time to study the competition to see how they're positioning themselves in the marketplace, so that you can look for a distinctiveness so you don't look just like them. If I look like every other martial arts school owner when I was a martial arts school owner, what was the uniqueness of coming to me versus going to one of my competitors? When I had a tax practice, what was the uniqueness of running a tax practice if I looked like every other tax preparer in the country? Think about your business. What is it that you do in your business that's unique and different than everybody else that does what you do? What do you do that they're not doing? Or what are some things that they are doing to attract customers that you could be doing in a unique way to attract similar customers so that they don't go to your competition? That's all part of doing an analysis and a study of your competition that's out there. What message can you put out that causes your brand to stand out as unique and different and attract the right type of customer? Ultimately, at the end of the day, you've got to answer this question: why should an individual choose you over any and every other available option, including doing nothing or staying exactly where they are? Why should they choose you over any and every available option? That's the most important question you've really got to work on when it comes to your branding. If your customer doesn't see the benefit of working with you, guess what? They're not going to work with you. Now, your goal is to create a unique brand, but understand there's no use reinventing the wheel when it comes to marketing strategies and techniques that can work for anyone and everyone. Remember, I already said you want to know how your competition is out in the marketplace to understand the market that you're trying to reach. If you and another business like yours are trying to attract the same customers, it doesn't hurt to look to see how they are marketing and whether or not it's being effective. If it's being effective, maybe you put your own unique spin on it and you put that message out as your own. But if their marketing is not being effective and you identify that, now you know what not to do because you don't want the same outcome if their marketing isn't getting them in front of a qualified prospect. If they're attracting customers on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and you're not there, they're getting customers that you're not. So you need to show up where your competition is showing up, but you need to show up with your own unique message. Remember, you don't want to look just like your competition or you don't stand out. Now, it's okay to show up in the same places because if your customer that you want to attract is there, you've got to be there. Otherwise, you're invisible. And if they don't know who you are, they don't know what you do, and they don't understand the uniqueness of working with you, they're never going to come seek you out in the first place. So remember, you've got to answer the question, why choose you? When you're speaking to the audience you want to attract into your business, or you want to have them invite you to connect with them so that you can serve them in some way. There are literally thousands of messages out in the marketplace every day. If you think about the fact that you and I, in our respective businesses, we are all standing on a stage. The customers that we want to serve are sitting in the audience. And we've got to somehow stand out as unique and different than everybody else on the stage. You've got to grab that bullhorn. Or if everybody on the stage is dressed in a yellow suit, you want to be the person in the blue suit so that you stand out as unique and different. The goal is this, and remember, uniqueness resonates. And if your audience can see the value in working with you, they're going to work with you. But you've got to keep telling your why choose you story so it gets in your client head and it stays there. Think Chick-Fil-A. How many times over the last several years have we seen those silly cows? But when we think about Chick-fil-A, what do we see? The cows. And what do the cows always tell us to do? Eat more chicken. And as a result of the why choose you story of Chick-fil-A, they have become the #1 fast food chain in the world. You've got to get your why choose you story in your client's head and keep it there. Now, I know it comes up oftentimes when I have this conversation, but John, I'm competing against a national brand like a Chick-fil-A or like a McDonald's or like an Ulta. I'm just a little small shop. Well, here's what I can tell you there. Even if you're competing against a national brand with a big budget, if your audience sees the personal advantage and benefits of your product or service and how what you do makes their life better in some way, they will still buy from you. One of the greatest stories I love to share there is the story of Jamie Kern Lima. If you don't know that name, Jamie Kern Lima was L'Oreal's first female CEO. She was a reporter that had a passion for what she did, but she suffered from rosacea. And she began to believe in her heart that she could create a makeup brand for ordinary people that worked on a variety of skin types, for a variety of ethnicities, for people of all ages to make them look beautiful. And working out of her apartment with her husband, they began to build this brand that ultimately became the #1 brand in luxury cosmetics in the world. It's an incredible story. The book, Believe It, is a great read if you haven't read it, to learn about believing in yourself and seeing the power of a brand. Her brand, It Cosmetics, sold for $1.2 billion to L'Oreal. And Jamie had the opportunity to serve as L'Oreal's first woman CEO of a L'Oreal company in the 100+ year history of the business. She was competing against national brands as a startup. But because she continued to tell her why choose you story, she got it in her client's head and it stayed there. And she ultimately got that unique break to be on QVC and became the #1 selling cosmetic brand on QVC. When the audience sees the advantage and benefits of working with you, your product, or your service, and how you're going to make their life better, they're going to seek you out. So understand this, you've always got to bring value to the table because how you stand out is everything. Let me share a story that explains what I mean here. Back in 1962, for those of you that are old enough to remember this, there were two rental car companies that really stood out in the marketplace. We didn't have the plethora of rental car companies we have today. There were really two brands, Hertz and Avis. Now, at that time, back in 1962, Hertz was what I would describe as the 800-pound gorilla in the car rental game. Avis, the competitor, was losing millions of dollars trying to keep up and compete with Hertz until they launched a unique ad campaign. And I love what they did. Their ad campaign says this: when you're only number two, you try harder or else. Now, I love that unique statement, but when they put that out with that statement, they had a graphic with it of this large fish about to swallow a smaller fish. It was an image that represented the two companies. Hertz as the big fish about to swallow up the smaller fish with a statement, when you're only number two, you try harder or else. It reminds me of Finding Nemo when that crazy little fish says, just keep swimming. Now, because Avis embraced their weakness, here's what happened. They were able to tout some unique things like outstanding customer service, shorter lines, quicker getting to your vehicle, and an overall willingness to try harder and to go the extra mile. Now, within a year of this ad campaign, when you're only number two, you try harder or else, Avis went from losing $3.2 million to earning a $1.2 million profit. That's a significant swing. That's a $4.4 million swing from losing money to making money. And it was the very first time Avis had an opportunity to be profitable in more than a decade. So the takeaway from that story is what? Be creative in your thinking about what your brand brings to the table. And it's okay to be number two. It's okay to try harder. It's okay to embrace your weakness and use your weakness as a strength. Now, when it comes to branding, one of the first things that immediately comes to mind for most people on this call and most of the clients and customers that I work with is a logo. Creating some sort of visual that allows people to recognize this is who you are and this is your brand. Now, there's an issue with a logo. It's easy to create a logo, but it's not so easy to create a good logo that gets attention. And I can tell you right now, probably most of you on the call, myself included, we're not graphic designers by trade. Now, there's websites out there like canva.com, and there's others like that out there. Those are great resources, but sometimes you just need to bite the bullet and hire a professional to help you put together a brand that speaks for you. Some examples of brands. When I say Nike, what do you see? The swoosh. When I say FedEx, what do you see? You see the arrow in the middle of the words in a unique color scheme. When I say McDonald's, what do you see? The golden arches. When I say Taco Bell, what do you see? You see the bell. Kentucky Fried Chicken, you see the bucket. Remember, a logo is one of the first things people see, and it may be the only thing they initially remember about your business. So you want to take some time to get your logo right up front and be willing to invest a little bit of money to make it memorable and consistent with your mission and vision statement. Now, let me give you an example of logos in what not to do that I think is pretty interesting. I had an opportunity to read a story recently about a small family optometry practice that they were having trouble attracting customers. Now, this was in the early days of laser surgery, where they would do the corrective eye surgery using lasers. Incredibly nice, incredibly friendly people with great expertise in their field, but they just couldn't get customers to walk through the door. Why? If you saw their logo, and I looked to hopefully try to find a copy of it, but I couldn't find a copy of their old logo. But their old logo was a graphic of a laser beam shooting into an eyeball. Now think about that. The business owners probably had good intention with a vision, well, excuse the pun, but a vision for what they wanted their logo to be, straight to the point, and giving people a visual image of the service they wanted to provide. And that was laser eye surgery. But from a marketing perspective, I don't think it crossed their mind that the picture of a laser beaming into an eyeball early on in the adoptive years of laser eye surgery was probably something their audience didn't want to think about. So ultimately, this optometry firm hired a professional. They changed their logo, and they went on to become a very successful brand marketing laser eye surgery. Now, it's important as you're creating a brand and the images around it, you want to create a style guide. Now, this is something a professional will help you with, but even if you're doing it yourself, you want to make sure that you're recording some very specific things. And here's why. When you're creating your brand, visuals are important, but the consistency of your brand is going to be predicated on how those images constantly show up. It's going to be essential to your success. So you want to create a style guide, or what is a style guide? It's a written document that defines how your company is going to use the visuals and the graphics that you create across every marketing platform you're going to use, whether it's radio, television, newspaper, or digital marketing, or a combination of those. You need to understand some basic things. Your style guide should understand and be able to define the logo size and where that logo is going to be placed. As an example, when I do my marketing, my logo either appears in the bottom left-hand corner or the bottom right-hand corner. It's a very specific size related to the overall size of the image I'm going to put out. Depending on what the image I'm using behind it is, my logo is either going to be to the left or it's going to be to the right. And my website is always going to appear center bottom of any graphic that I put out there. You also want to understand and identify the unique colors that you're using in the color palette for your logo. You know, think about McDonald's, Target, your favorite football team. They have a very specific color scheme that they use, and they know the exact formula so that a palette chart can be used to recreate that exact same color in their shirts, their polos, their pullover jackets, their hats, their logos, their keychains, their water bottles, everything that those big organizations put out, their brand is consistent in size, shape, and color. Those are some things that you need to think about. If you're using photography, do you want to be known for black and white photography as part of your business? Do you want to be known for full color? Do you want to be known for high contrast? Specific things that are unique to your style need to be written down so that you can be consistent. And having all of those things recorded in a style guide can be very powerful, so that as you're speaking to a print shop or you're speaking to a logo company that's going to digitize and use your logo on shirts or other paraphernalia, that they actually get it right and your brand is consistent. Now, all of this is really geared around one thing. Your brand has to become and develop its own unique voice, so that when you speak, your brand speaks in the voice of the audience that you want to reach out to and attract. Your brand voice is important because it's going to shape how you're communicating with your customers and how your customers are going to respond to you. Now, think about it this way. If your target market is an 18-year-old individual just graduating high school, that's going to be a different voice than you would speak to a 45-year-old married couple or a 65-year-old retiree. So your branding and the message around it and the voice by which it speaks needs to make sure that it is speaking uniquely in the voice of your target audience. The way you're going to shape a message for a dental practice is going to be much different than the way you're going to shape a message for a quirky floral boutique. If you're a martial arts instructor that teaches self-defense, you may have a different message from someone that focuses on sport competition. It's up to you to decide how you want to come off in your brand voice, whether it's professional or friendly, authoritative, technical, conversational, informative, or some combination of the above. You want to build a voice that resonates with your target audience and does one thing: draws them in. You want your brand voice to be in your audience's unique language. Now, here's something else when it comes to branding that's often missed. I had an opportunity recently to gather in a roundtable digitally with a number of entrepreneurs that were launching new businesses. And when I asked every one of them, I says, tell me what you do in 60 seconds or less. Not a single one of them could do it. So here's my question for you. If someone asks at a chamber function, or you're standing in line at a department store, the grocery store, and someone sees a logo on your shirt, or they see something unique that speaks to a business, and they say, hey, what do you do? Can you succinctly tell them what you do in such a unique way that they say, tell me more? Now, sadly, most business owners I work with fail miserably at this. They either stammer and stutter, or they say nothing, or they drone on about all of the features of their business and the product they sell, putting me to sleep and everybody else in the room. What I'm talking about is an elevator pitch, what I refer to as a power positioning statement, something that allows you to share the value or benefit of working for you in 60 seconds or less. Now, what does a power positioning statement or an elevator pitch do? It says to the person that asked the question, who you serve, how you help them, and the benefit of working with you. Now, if you want some help with that, again, after we finish today's training, you can go to my website, Be a Black Belt Leader, and under the courses tab, you're going to find a free course called When the Mic is on You, how to craft an attention-getting message that works. So I want to encourage you to check that out after today's training, and I'll revisit these trainings and remind you where the link is as we wrap this up here in just a moment. Now, remember this, as an expert in human behavior intelligence, and I've been working in that field for over 15 years, here's what I can tell you. A consumer makes a buying decision either in your favor or against you initially as an emotional decision. Why? We all are sensory people. We have 5 senses. And as those senses stimulate our body, they send nerve impulses into our brain. And as those nerve impulses enter our brain, the first part of the brain they enter is our subconscious emotional mind. And as a result of that, the initial decision to either buy or not starts as an emotional decision. It is then pushed up into the conscious part of our mind to validate it logically, but the buying decision is first made emotionally. Now, the very best brands understand that, and they build emotion into their messaging. So let me give you an example. We talked about IT Cosmetics. So let's go back to the health and beauty industry. When you watch a commercial for soap, for a hair dye product, for a razor, or for a diet pill, or some type of diet food program like Weight Watchers or Nutrisystem or some of the others that are out there, what are you really watching? You're watching an ad that was created to make you feel as though you would be better off as a result of buying and using these products. Now, what are these brands tapping into? Pay attention to this. They're tapping into the fear and insecurity of their audience, that they don't feel this way. They don't look this way. They don't smell this way. And as they tap into those fears, those insecurities, and the problems that are keeping your target audience awake at night, trying to figure out how to fix them, now they begin to speak to those and say, I can deliver a solution that can create the end result that you want. Now you're moving into desire and stirring desire, stirring emotion in your branding and marketing by highlighting the outcome that you know your target market wants. Now you're going to move them to take action. And when you move them with emotion, they're much more likely to say yes to your offer than if you come at them with a bunch of facts and figures. Now, the other thing I like about brands, and as I've been studying branding for the last several years, I almost have gotten to the point, what little bit of television I get to watch, I almost enjoy watching the commercials. In fact, many times I do. I enjoy watching the commercials more than the actual broadcast that I may be watching, a movie or the news or whatever it may be, because here's what I've learned. The very best brands let their personality shine. Customers today don't want more of the same old, same old. They're tired of that. Think back a decade or so ago, Starbucks tapped into the same old, and they refused to be the same old type of coffee shop as every other coffee shop out there. When you walk into a Starbucks, it is a unique experience that is full of personality. Now, as part of your branding, when you show up as a real person and your business shows up as real people, what are you doing? You're personalizing the experience in such a way that it's going to attract the type of customers you want to do business with in the first place. You're creating an exceptional experience that your clients can and will talk about. Now, thanks to social media, today, you've got an opportunity to share some behind the scenes, real life moments with your customers that are going to allow you to come off as genuine and transparent, something customers crave. Many of you on the call may know the name Russell Brunson. If you don't, Russell Brunson was the brainchild behind ClickFunnels, one of the most powerful automated selling systems for digital marketing in the world today. When Russell started out early on, Russell used social media, and he would go live and he would do behind the scenes, real life moments of what was going on in his life and in the life of his company. And he built a following around that by injecting his personality into that. So you too can use social media to tell your story, to go behind the scenes of what's going on in your business and share the experience of what's happening and how you're transforming and changing lives in some way. Or even better, invite your customers to share their own unique experience in their own words on your pages. Testimonials can be powerful if done right. Now, let me also remind you, when it comes to your brand, don't overlook the small touches. People want to be valued, and paying attention to the little things can go a big way to building brand loyalty. And let me give you an example. Just across the street from my office is a local restaurant that I frequent quite often, not only because the food is good, and who doesn't love Tex-Mex, but when I walk in the door, I always ask for the same waiter. Why? Because the minute I walk in the door and he sees me standing there, from wherever he is in the facility, his big old arm goes up and he says, "Hey, Mr. John, good to see you." He acknowledges I'm there. He knows my name. When I sit down at the table, he doesn't even have to ask. He brings a glass of iced tea to me with 3 lemons. He makes sure my glass of sweet tea is never empty. I always have extra lemons. I've got chip and salsa, and we always have a great conversation. And he is friendly and engaging, and he serves me and the guest I'm taking to this restaurant like we are the only people in the room. It's for that reason in their branding that I frequent this restaurant quite often. Now, I live in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We're a vacation town, and we've got food places on every corner. And many of the folks that I walk in to eat at other establishments, I'm just a body. I'm not treated like I'm a valued customer. Now, for you and your business, maybe it's nothing more than engaging in a bit of small talk before you get down to business. Having conversation as you're doing their hair, if you're a salon owner, can be valuable. Before you get down to talking financial planning, maybe it's talking about the kids or the grandkids. Important little things like remembering the customer's name. Simple things like making sure your website is easy to navigate. Creating some type of loyalty program that benefits people sticking with you. Making sure you're sending greeting cards for birthdays, for anniversaries, for holidays, for special events. Those small little touches are going to allow you to stand out. And here's the big thing. It's going to make your customer remember you. Now, remember, your customer is going to remember the experience for good or for bad anytime they interact with you. So if you can create a memorable experience by focusing on the little things nobody else in town is doing, you create a memorable experience that they not only want to come back for, they're going to tell other people how you treated them differently and better than everybody else that does something different. Now, your brand has to be visible and it has to be consistent. and it needs to reflect in everything the customer and the public sees. Your business card, your website, your social media, your advertising, your branding, your polos, your marketing gear, whatever it is, your brand should be visible and present. One of my two favorites are Hard Rock Cafe and Cracker Barrel. Think about Hard Rock Cafe. If you've ever had an opportunity to go to one, all across the world, Hard Rock Cafe restaurants look exactly the same. The walls are covered in memorabilia. There's rock music playing. The logo, Hard Rock Cafe, is on everything, from the napkins to the t-shirts that they sell. I love their brand message, serving up authentic experiences that rock. They do that, and they do it well because they understand little things add big value. Think about Cracker Barrel. They do something very similar. Every Cracker Barrel you ever visit has the same look and feel. It's like a down-home, old-school kitchen that you would go to when your grandparents were still alive. Starbucks, Cracker Barrel, KFC, Foot Locker, the American Taekwondo Association, beauty brands like Ulta and Sephora, they integrate their branding into everything they do, and their logo and their brand always shows up every time you see or hear their name. Now, let me remind you not to jump the fence, especially if you're new. When you're just getting started, it's okay to test new ideas because you're building your brand and you're finding your voice. So it's okay to test out your logos, different color fonts, different color schemes with some trusted friends, with professionals, and even a subset of your target audience. You want to seek their input, their guidance, and their advice. But you don't want to go live with the changes and rebrand everything about your business. You've done your homework. You've gotten quality feedback, and you're confident the changes that you're making are going to be a positive in your brand. For those of you that are old enough to remember, do you remember the fiasco that was New Coke? When Coca-Cola, as their patent was running out, decided they wanted to come out with New Coke, and it was a miserable failure because they failed to do the homework on the front end. And then we had Coke Classic as the original came back, and New Coke ultimately faded into the sunset. So you don't want to get in the habit of consistently changing your brand because you're going to send a confused signal to the marketplace. You're essentially saying, we don't know who we are and we don't know who we serve. And if you're confusing the marketplace, remember this from human behavior intelligence. A confused mind always says no to your offer. You can't build brand loyalty if you don't have a consistent brand. Now, it's okay to make small tweaks, but major overhaul changes, you need to limit those to very, very infrequently. Now, once you built a brand, here is where many organizations miss it. Once you've got your brand built, you've got to become your brand's number one cheerleader. And the employees that work for you, your staff members, they've got to be the cheerleaders right alongside with you. Once you've created a mission statement, you built your brand, it's up to you and your staff to live that message out in front of the world. Now, think about it this way. If you're not excited about your brand, why should the public be excited about who you are, what you do, and what you offer? If you're not talking up your brand and living out your mission statement in the public arena, why should you expect any customer to buy into your vision to make a difference? If you're looking to expand and you're looking to hire people, very, very important that you hire people that fit into your brand and the company culture that you're trying to build. Now, another tip here, give your loyal customers a voice. Give them an opportunity to post reviews and to share your content. Maybe create a loyalty program or provide some incentive around that. Many people miss the fact that once they built a brand and they start building it out and people begin to embrace what you're about, their word of mouth can be some of the most powerful advertising that you can ever have done for you, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So let me begin to wrap up with this. Stay consistent, but make sure you're doing it in a significant way because consistency matters. Consistency is how you go from being a startup like It Cosmetics in an apartment living room to become a $1.2 billion global brand. It's how you have an opportunity to go from being a bit player, just getting started, to building a brand that everybody in the marketplace knows, respects, values, and refers to other people. So once people know what your mission and your vision are, and they understand the unique benefits of working with you and your brand and the desired outcome you're going to deliver to them, here's what's going to happen. They're going to start seeking you out. And when they do, and they engage with you, whether you're teaching martial arts lessons, you're doing hair, you're selling them shirts and ties, you're putting shoes on their feet, whatever it is that you do in terms of a product or a service, if you exceed expectations and create a memorable experience, those individuals are going to come back again and again, and they're going to bring other people with them. Now, let me remind you up front that brand loyalty doesn't happen overnight. But when you live out what you believe and you serve your customers with confidence and with excellence, and you create an experience they value and appreciate, here's what you're doing. You're serving your clients at a higher level than your competition. And that's how you build a significant brand that lasts. That's how you're building what I refer to as black belt excellence into your business. You're learning to become a master of your craft, your profession, or your trade. Now, after you begin to do that, now you've got an opportunity to say, hey, I've got a customer. I've got 2. I've got 10. I've got a class full of kids. I've got a laundromat full of people drying and washing their clothes. Whatever it is, once you begin to put the brand out there and people respond, now you've got an opportunity to celebrate your success. It's not going to happen overnight, but each little win that you experience, each incredible customer experience that they say with you, I've never been treated like this before in a positive way, that's an opportunity to not only celebrate, but to make note of what you did so that you can replicate that in other customers that walk in the door of your business. If you do that enough times, you're going to build a brand and a reputation behind it that's going to cause you to be sought out, just like the national brands that attract people. But you don't have to be a national brand to stand out in the crowd. There are thousands of people that teach leadership and teach many of the things that I do. But my unique brand stands out because I teach people how to master their lives and do so with black belt excellence. Now, think about this. Once you get enough people excited about who you are and what you do, what have you just done? You've just created an army that becomes an unpaid sales force for you. When people love the experience that they realize by doing business with you, working with you, having you involved in their lives, they're going to become your cheerleaders and your raving fans that are going to invite other people just like them to come and experience for the very first time what they have grown to love and appreciate about your business. Now, I want to say just real quickly, as we're looking at future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. So as I'm sharing valuable content on how to master your sales and marketing, if you got some thoughts, ideas, or feedback on other topics that you'd like me to share, I'd love for you to reach out to me at john.terry@beablackbeltleader.com to have an opportunity to give me some insight of things I can share with you that are going to continue to help you in your own sales and marketing journey. Now, real quickly, as we begin to wrap up, don't forget there are a couple of courses I mentioned today that are available to you free of charge that will help you go beyond what you just learned today about branding. The first of those is when the mic is on you, how to create an attention-getting message, a power positioning statement that works. This is how to create that unique elevator pitch. You'll find that at beablackbeltleader.com under the courses section of my website. Again, notice from branding and marketing perspective where my logo and my website appear. Now, again, another marketing piece, same logo, same website, but here's another. If you want to get more in-depth training on how to specifically define a target market because the riches are in the niches, go to the training tab of beablackbeltleader.com, and there you can access an on-demand webinar of how to target and identify your ideal customer avatar. And now, shameless plug, if you haven't yet picked up a copy of my #1 best-selling book, Black Belt Leadership 101, let me encourage you to do so. Being an expert means you're also a leader in your field, your industry, or your craft. So you've got to know what it means to lead as an expert. Now, my book, which was a #1 new release on Amazon 2020 April last year, stayed on the bestsellers list for over 3 months. This book is going to walk you through the implementation of the 10 essential steps to become a black belt expert leader in life. And for those of you who want to go even deeper, there's a masterclass on demand allowing me to take you through these 10 essential steps in a digital learning format, over 50 hours of training content. And you'll find these and other resources at beablackbeltleader.com. So as we wrap up today, let me challenge you, don't just go build a brand. Anybody can do that. Take what you've learned today and master your branding. And as those customers walk in the door and engage with you, please make sure that you serve them with black belt excellence, having an opportunity to create an exceptional experience that invites them to come back. I'm John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and I want to say thanks for joining me. If you want to follow me on social media, you want to have an opportunity to access my weekly podcast, the articles and blogs I put out, follow me on YouTube or any of the other media channels I'm there, you can go to beablackbeltleader.com, go to the Contact Us tab, and you'll find all that information available to you there. I'm John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and I want to say thanks for joining me and have a great day.